MarMac Coach Conversation brought to you by Birdnow Chevrolet, Havlicek Trucking, and Meyer Auto Service. We're with head coach Dan Anderson as we get ready for the Class 1A title game on Thursday afternoon. It'll be MFL MarMac in Grundy Center. Coach, you're still playing football. How'd you get it done against Underwood?
Oh, physicality, I guess, is the number one thing. You know, those guys up front got a good push, and we were able to wear them down. Resilience is important. You know, we had Wyatt went out of the game in the first quarter with an injury, and you lose, your all-state running back. There's a lot of ways. A lot of people would say things like, if something bad like that happens, hey, it's next man up, and that's what you expect. But a lot of times it doesn't happen. That's tough. You're playing against a team that's the top scoring team in the state of Iowa and one of the best defenses in Iowa, and a big game in the Dome somewhere we've never been, and you lose your running back that's run for 1,000 yards, has led us for years, and he goes down with an injury. But the kids really responded. They, it was really important that Wyatt stayed there on the sidelines, with and kept cheering the guys on, and we didn't really miss a beat. The other guys, they stepped it up. So it was great to see the mental toughness and the resilience in our kids when bad things sometimes that happens in football and injuries happen, but kids responded well, and so time of possession was important. I think we had 34 minutes of time possession. They had 14. If you're going to beat a team like Underwood, you can't let them have too many possessions because they are dangerous. And they proved it when they had the ball. They scored. They had 282 yards passing, and that quarterback was, as advertised. He was good, and so was their receiver core. But we got some turnovers.
And you were able to take the lead heading into halftime. And in the second half, Bryce got that pick six on the first possession for Underwood. In the big picture, how big was that just to take control of the game?
It was, gave us a 2-score lead. And, when you're playing a team like that, no lead's real secure. But that was huge. That was huge, to have a pick six in a big game like that. And he read it well. Great thing was that, we were able to get pressure. Carver, blitz Bentine, sent him off the edge on a blitz, and he was, got pressure on the quarterback, made him throw it a little quicker than he wanted to. And Bryce made a great read and stepped in front of the receiver. And 34 yards later, we're up by 2 scores. And so that was huge. It was a huge turning point in the game. And, our crowd was going crazy. It was awesome. Never seen such a big crowd at a semifinals game. I've been to a lot of them watching. First one I've got a chance to coach in. And our fans were awesome. They were loud, and that really kept us in the game.
And Quinn McGee had to step in and replace Wyatt once he went down. Obviously, a very good statistical game for him, 161 yards, 5 touchdowns. What made Quinn so ready for that moment that he wasn't expecting and maybe wasn't even wanting at that point, but he was ready and willing to go when called upon?
He's a mentally tough kid. He really is. Going to, wrestling for years, going to state wrestling. Being on the big stage doesn't bother him. He's a team player. He doesn't care about his own statistics, and nobody does on our team. They don't care who's scoring touchdowns, as long as we're scoring touchdowns. And it just happened that, Quinn had the hot night. We rarely have the same back lead us in rushing from week to week, and you never know who's going to be the guy that's going to carry the team. Carver had a big night carrying the ball too at quarterback. I think he had 150 some yards. He never got in the end zone, but he had a bunch of huge plays and running midline option and pulling the ball and taking off with it. Big first downs. But yeah, Quinn's just an outstanding athlete, super hard worker, extremely smart. If you're going to step in, he plays fullback for us, but obviously when Wyatt went down, he was getting some reps at halfback too. And, you couldn't ask for a better guy. He could probably play a lot of different positions, and he knows a lot of positions. We tell our kids that, the more you're willing to learn, the better opportunities you have out there to help the team succeed. And so Quinn's one of those guys that always knows what's going on, and he asks questions if he doesn't know.
And with Wyatt, of course, he's going to be out this coming Thursday. Obviously, he's meant a lot to your football team, not only this year, but in years past. But your opponent isn't going to feel sorry for you not having one of your team leaders on the field. Where's that balance between just having that next guy to step up, but at the same time, the human side of it and having empathy and being heartbroken for a kid that can't play in a state title game?
Yeah, it hurts, it hurts me. I'm sure it hurts him and hurts, everybody on the team, because we're all invested in this and we've all been working hard for this. He's been a great leader for us, captain of the team. And, it's painful for me as a coach to see that happen to a kid go down and, happen in the first quarter. Those guys rallied around him, and I don't anticipate that, I don't think that anything will be any different this week. I think our guys will play extremely hard and play with that same desire and passion. And, you got to play if you want to win in a football game, in any game, especially in a state title game. You got to play at a high level with a lot of intensity and a lot of heart and guts. And it's one of those things that doesn't show up on the stats, but our guys have it. Our guys have the mental toughness. We work them extremely hard in practice, condition them, put them in tough situations. And, a lot of the credit, though, I mean, the one thing that was, that stayed the same the whole game was our offensive line, Darren. I mean, our offensive line dominated that game. They guys up front, Cade McElwain at tight end, and Schulte at power tackle, and Thornton at power guard, and Howes at center, Gordon at quick guard, and Deal at quick tackle. Those guys were they were pushing, man. They were physical at wearing those guys down from Underwood, and they had some really good defensive linemen and some good skill guys, but rushing for over 400 yards. Those guys were giving up 33 yards a game rushing, I think, on the season. So when you can rush for 400 plus yards more than what they were giving up, pretty good game. And it's not just your backs. A lot of that has to do with your guys blocking for them too.
What's this week been like? First time in school history, you're playing for a state football championship this week. Where's the line between that mental focus and that preparation to get your kids as ready as possible come Thursday, but at the same time, just allowing them to enjoy the excitement in the ride?
Yeah. Hope they enjoyed it over the weekend because it's back to work this week. We got another job to do here. I mean, we said that going down to the Dome last week. We're not just going down there to play in the game. I mean, it was our first time ever to the semis, but you would never have guessed it when our kids played down there. They didn't have the wide-eyed look. They weren't nervous. They played at a high level from the very get-go, and they've had a good week of practice. I mean, that turf's hard on your body, pretty banged up. Some of our guys, are getting healed up from last week's game, and it's quick turnaround. So I'm sure that Grundy's guys are kind of banged up too, I would imagine. So yeah, this week's more important. It's not cracking shoulder pads with each other. We know who we are. Kids don't have to prove anything to me and our coaching staff about physicality. We know, our kids are physical. They'll hit, they'll tackle well, they'll play with a lot of heart. Important thing right now is just knowing their assignment and making sure we get healed up as much as possible, before Thursday afternoon's game, because it's, like I said, it's a six-day turnaround for the state finals. And, but we're in the same boat as Grundy. I'm sure that, it's tough for them to get prepared in 6 days too.
And what has the practice schedule been like this week with this Friday to Thursday turnaround?
Yeah, so everything moves up a day. So, I don't ever require my kids to do anything on the weekends, except for this week. On Sunday, we brought them in. We had practice on Sunday afternoon, went over the game plan. It was more of a walkthrough. Then Monday's practice was our typical Tuesday, our tough Tuesday practice. And now, today being Tuesday, it'll be our Wednesday practice, getting our last preparations in. And then tomorrow it will be our, the pregame, perfect Thursday on a perfect Wednesday. Get everything ready to go. Make sure everybody's sharp, knows their assignments. And let's jump on the bus on Thursday and head down there to Cedar Falls.
And going back to last week, and I think this is an aspect that I know some coaches and players touch upon, but maybe from the outside looking in, we don't understand it because we're not on that inside. How much of just wanting to go out and win that game and play another week was just the opportunity for this unit to have one more week of football and have as much football together as possible?
Yeah, these kids have been playing together for a long time. It's just great that they can kind of, we made it all the way to the end. I always talked to my kids the last 5 weeks. Is this going to be the last week? Are we going to be turning our gear on Monday? Well, we'll be turning our gear on next Monday, and those guys, they know that now. There's nothing past this point. Some of these guys may go on and play some college football. We have some guys that have the abilities. A lot of these guys, it'll be it. This is the last time they'll ever put the shoulder pads and helmet on. And, that's a very emotional time for these guys and for the coaches. We put a lot into this. We have worked so hard for where we're at. It's not a fluke. These guys have worked so hard in the off season over the years. Coaches have worked so hard. People don't know all the hours we put in and to get to this point. And so, it'll be emotional, whether we win or whether we lose in that game. These kids have already won, for what they've accomplished. But we still have the goal in mind that, we plan to be down at the Dome. And actually, I've got stuff written down on my desk here from 6 weeks ago, game plan for Grundy. I believe we were going to be at this point, and our kids believe we were going to be at this point. We thought we'd be facing Grundy, and that's where we're at. And so, I've got things written down, from Grundy way before we knew we'd ever play him, because I thought this is where we would be, at the last week of the year. So, our fans, I tell you what, Darren, coming out of that garage door goes up down there at the Unidome. I told our boys, I said, boys, there's some special times in your life, when you get married, when you have kids, pretty special times, things like that. But so when this garage door goes up and you hear the roar of that crowd, man, you guys are going to remember this the rest of your life. And our crowd, they came through. They were so loud. They were the 12th man. And we appreciate that. And that, like I said, that's the biggest crowd I've ever seen, at a semifinals game in any class. I've been to 5A schools, semis, and I've never seen a crowd that big. Hopefully our crowd travels that well this week and we even have more, because that really, our kids don't get tired when they have all that energy from all those fans yelling and screaming. It's loud down there on the field, that's for sure. But, the kids came through.
And obviously, at this point, your opponent is going to be really good. Grundy Center has been the number one team in Class 1A throughout the season. Looking at them on film, what impresses you the most?
They're always good. We saw them in 2019, and their coaching staff always puts together, a great team every year. They've been in the state finals 5 straight years. They won it last year, 28-0, I believe, and they got most of those guys back. They have most of their guys that won the state title back on that team. So, got a 25-game winning streak going, and they've really been playing well the last 3-4 weeks. They had some close games earlier in the year. They had some rematches with some of those teams, and they faced them the second time. They blew them out of the water. They had a 7-6 game earlier in the year with Dyke, and they beat Dyke 40-0 the second time they played. I think there was a 21-14 game with Waterloo Columbus. They beat in a close game early in the year, and they beat them 42-7 last week. So they're playing really well right now, but we're playing really well right now too. So, we went down to Regina, a couple of years ago. They were the number 1 ranked team, or number 2, and they had a 21-game winning streak. And, we beat them. Our kids don't get intimidated by anybody. We respect Grundy. They are the class, they are the top of the class. They've been there all year, and rightfully so. I mean, they are an elite program. But our guys are ready to play football, and our coaches have them well prepared, and we're excited about that opportunity to play in the Dome. And it's going to be a tough task, but we're going down there to win. We're not going down there just to play a football game.
All right, Coach. Well, it's been fun having these 13 conversations, as many as we possibly can have throughout the season. I want to thank you for taking the time each and every week to have a conversation with us, and keep you guys healthy and take home that tallest trophy come Thursday afternoon. Best of luck to you.
All right. Thank you much, Darren.
Dan Anderson, head coach of the MFL MarMac Bulldogs. These conversations have been brought to you by Birdnow Chevrolet, Meyer Auto Service, and Havlicek Trucking.